And so now I have questions from Lorian and John, and I hope I pronounced that right, Lorian. They both pertain to the direct mail, and they want to know what are the best ways to find private note holders that you can send direct mail to. The easiest way is to buy a list. Many of you know my story about many years ago. Before they had list providers, I actually went downtown to the recorder's office, spent the entire day down there going through the mortgagee index list, and came home with 6 names and was ready to throw in the towel. I mean, it's like, how am I going to get my mom to come and babysit all day long, so that I can come up with enough leads to do something? And I was ready to quit. And then I thought, I worked really hard for these 6 leads. And so I went ahead and sent out my direct mail letters. And my first deal came from one of those 6 letters. So it was very awesome, but nonetheless, there was no way I was going to keep going down to the courthouse. Now, I will tell you this, that many counties are now online, and I have a lot of students who are going to the counties and they're just pulling them, working from their home, not going down to the courthouse. And the technical name of what you're looking for is the mortgagee index. Okay. Different counties might call them different things, but that's what it was at Hamilton County where I went. So if you are able to go online and pull that up, then all you want to do is just scan through them, and you are looking for note holders who are like mom and pops, or who possibly have like a small investment company, that kind of thing. But you avoid all of the banks and credit unions and stuff like that. So that is a great way to come up with your own names, and that's not going to be a list that somebody else has. Now, granted, it's public record, so their name could be on somebody else's list. But what I'm saying is it's not a list that has been passed out to everyone where you're mailing to the exact same list that somebody else is getting. So that is kind of a nice thing to have. But I will tell you that most people simply buy a list. As a student of mine, I have several different list providers who I've made arrangements with for my students that they will give you a discount. If you are a student, go to your welcome email, okay? And I've got the names of those providers on the welcome email. I can't give them out publicly. This is going to be put on YouTube because that's not fair to the vendors that everybody's going to get this discount because I posted a YouTube video. Also, I think it's only fair for my students to have that as opposed to the general public. But if you're in doubt or you're not yet a student, I said yet because you need to be a student, but just Google seller finance list or note buyer list or something along those lines. There are lots of different list providers out there. Okay. And some of them you can tailor make a list to what you want. You can give the exact demographics that you want. And in that way, you're not getting the same list that everybody else is getting. You're getting a nice variety. And by the way, I kind of like a variety. I think you have a better success rate if rather than nail it down to just like, I want all notes with no down payments because I'm going to do partials. I don't think that's a good idea to do. You want a variety. I think that we've gone over now several times what to look for with your list, but real quick, I'll give you the main things. I would look for notes that have a $50,000 balance or more. And maybe I should say original principal amount because they don't necessarily know the balance. And you want the properties to be worth at least $75,000 or more. You want to avoid any bad areas. You don't want the drug areas or the gang war areas, that kind of stuff. But the thing is that there are rural properties, and shoot, we even have some properties right here that might only be worth $40,000 or so. You can still do notes on those. The problem is I just had somebody send one over to me just yesterday, and the note was only $30,000. And unfortunately, we just could not build enough in for a spread for us to flip the note. Now, that would have been a perfect note to hold. if my student had wanted to buy that note and hold it, that would have been perfect. But there just wasn't enough room in it for us to make it worth our while to flip it to somebody else. Okay. So I hope that helps you as far as your list provider.